Now we're going to be factoring trinomials whose leading coefficient is 1. So this is a method. I've got a 10-step process here. It's called the AC method. Now if you know how to factor by trial and error, that's fine. You do that. But this is cut and dry. It's just a process that gets you through any trinomial whatsoever. So these are steps for factoring trinomials when my A value is 1. What that means, first job is to write in descending order. And if you'll notice, I've got x squared. So I'm going to have numbers where A, B, and C are. But when A is equal to 1, it's going to look like x squared plus some number x plus some number C. You do what we did in the last section, and we always start out with that. You'll always factor out any common monomials. Multiply AC. Now that refers to this number here and this number back here. But since in this particular situation my A is going to be 1, I'm going to always have 1 times whatever my value is back here. Step 4 is to list all factor combinations of AC. Let me go ahead and I'll look at a problem that I've got down here. It's in descending order. My A is 1, my B is 6, my C is 8. Now I've said that steps 1 and 2 are completed because it's already in descending order and there's not a common monomial. So starting with step 3, 1 times 8 is going to give me 8. In step 4, list all factor combinations of AC. I always start with 1 because 1 will go into everything. So 1 times 8, and then the next number I use is the next number up. 2 times 4. 3 does not go, but I'm not going to write 4 times 2 because I've already got it here. So if you've got your numbers and as you come down you start going back up this side, that's your quote-unquote list. So that's step 4, just making a list of your factor combinations. Step 5 is to sum this list. 1 plus 8 gives me 9, 2 plus 4 gives me 6. Okay, so we've done that. Now I've got this as step 6. Let's see what step 6 is. If one of the sums matches the middle term exactly, then the trinomial is factorable. Or, if you have the correct number but wrong sign, then change signs with the factors. This means both of them, not one. You have to change them both. And then the trinomial is factorable. If it doesn't, which means the sums do not match, does not match that middle term at all, then it's considered prime, which means not factorable. So it says in 7 to use the factors from step 5 that worked in step 6 to rewrite the middle term. So let's go down here. Alright, so here's my original. So I use my factors that when added together gives me the middle, and you just split up. Notice the first term and last term do not change, only the middle gets broke. But now this leads us back to that problem that we had earlier in the prior section where we factor by grouping. I'm going to look at this group and I'd say an X is coming out of this one, and out of this one it looks like I'm going to have a plus 4. So here's my X. So divide each one of these by X and write your leftovers. Here's my plus 4. We've got to have that sign. So if I divide 4 into both of these, I've got X plus 2. So if you'll notice now, I've got a common binomial. So I'm going to factor that out. So under my little finger, I should have parentheses X plus 2. In the second parentheses, X plus 4. So if you FOIL this, which is step 10, if you FOIL that and get back to your original, then you factored correctly. So let me get back up here to step 6. So we're looking for two numbers that when added together gives me the middle. Either it's going to be on the nose or I've got to change both signs. So I use those factors in step 7 to rewrite middle term only. So in step 8, I factor by grouping. Step 9, write down step 2, which was that factor out any common monomial. Then write down the common binomial factor in the first parentheses and write in the second parentheses the leftovers. And if you'll take time to do number 10, then you should do very well on this test. So let me bring over my problems. So we're going to factor the following trinomials. So that was the problem we just did. So let's not look back. Let's see if we can do it. It is in descending order. There's nothing in common. So 1 times 8 gives me 8. So I'm going to put that over here. Break it up. And then sum. That gives me 9. This gives me 6. This is the one I need. So those are the factors we're going to use to break the middle up. So you don't have to write it in this order. I always do. Once I get set in a pattern and it always works, I'm not going to change it. So out of this first group, I'm going to factor out an x. Out of the second group, the sign comes down. I'm going to factor out a positive 4, which means no signs inside will change. Common binomial. X times x will give me x squared. Outside is 4x. Inside is 2x. So that will give me my 6x. And last times last, there's my 8. Let's try this one. It's in descending order. Nothing common. So 1 times 6, I get 6. So it'll be 1 times 6, 2 times 3. Okay? So if I sum them up, so let me write sum. That gives me 7 and 5. Okay. Positive 5 here, I need a negative 5. If you remember in step 6, you have the correct number but wrong sign, change them both. So this is the pair I need to break up the middle. So let me look at this group. I'm going to factor out an x. I'm going to factor out a negative 3, which is going to change all signs. Negative 3x divided by negative 3 gives me a positive x. Negative 6 divided by negative 3 gives me a negative 2. Parentheses match, so factor out the common binomial. When you find a pair of numbers that when added together will give you the middle, it is factorable. So let's FOIL. X times x is x squared. Outside's a minus 3x. Inside's a minus 2x. There's my minus 5x. And negative 2 times negative 3 is positive 6. Okay, the next one. So try this one. Pause me. See, 2 won't go, 3 won't go, 4 won't go, 5 won't go, 6 won't go, so those are all I've got. So if I sum these, I have a 34 and a plus 2. That's the pairing I need right there. So let's go break up middle. I'm going to factor out an x. Bring down the positive 7. My parentheses match, which they always should do. And if you FOIL that, you should come back up with the original. It's in descending order. I see nothing common. So negative 99. Remember, you've got to go 1 times C, sign and all. So negative 1 times 99. 2 won't go evenly. 3. 4. No. 5. Nope. 6. Nope. 7. Nope. 8. Nope. 9. So if I sum them, this is 98, this is 30, this gives me a positive 2. Gotta change both. So let's go back and rewrite the middle. And again, this pairing, you can write it as is, or you can flip-flop it. It's up to you. Out of this group, I see a y being factored out. Out of this group, a negative. Looks like 11. When you factor out a negative, both of these signs will change in the parentheses. So those match. Foil it and see if you get back to the original. Let's see, descending order, nothing common. So 1 times negative 5 is negative 5. So negative 1 times 5. 2 won't work, 3 doesn't, 4 don't, 5 I'm starting back up the other side. So if I sum this, this gives me a 4. I need a 1. There's nothing I can do. So this one is considered prime. I really like those because, well, you're pretty much done. This one, let's see, I see x's and y's. When they give you more than one variable, just concentrate on one. So this is in descending order with respect to the x's. So I've got x squared, x to the first, and no x. So this is my 1. This is my c. So it looks like I'm going to have a 6. So if I sum this, that gives me a 7. Now this gives me a 5, but I need a negative. So I'm going to change them both. So that's the pairing I need. So let's go break up the middle. Or rewrite. Breaking up sounds, it's not so nice. It depends on the situation, I guess. So out of this group, I see an x that I can factor out. A negative 3y. So that will give me a positive x. And 6y squared divided by negative 3 gives me a negative 2y. My parentheses match. And if you FOIL that, you'll get right back up to the original. Majority of problems you're going to be able to factor. There might be 1, maybe 2 at the most, but you got to make sure. Now number 7, it says to factor completely. Alright, well first of all, I do not see an x squared on the lead off, so if you'll notice it is in descending order, but I do have some common monomials. You see a 3 will go into all of these, as will an x. So let's pull out our common monomial. That'll leave me an x squared minus 5x minus, that would be I think a 14. Now you've got to remember, so what I usually like to do is lasso that and bring it down to where my answer is going to be, so I don't have to worry about it, because that is a factor and I have to have that included. So now let's just focus on this. 1 times negative 14 is a negative 14. So negative 1 times 14. And when I have a negative, I always start off with just negatives over here. Negative 2 times 7. 3 will not go. 4 won't. 5 won't. 6 won't. 7, I'm going back up. Now if I sum them, this is a positive 13. This is a positive 5. I need a negative, so I change both signs. So x squared plus 2x minus 7x minus 14. So out of this group, I'm going to factor out an x. This group, a negative must come, and it looks like 7. My parentheses match. So now let me join this up with the other one. So if you check this, FOIL first, then distribute the 3x through. So you see we're just going in reverse. Now there is a shortcut only with these when your a value is 1. So let me go back up here so I can show you what I'm talking about. The x squared will always, I'll just have an x and another x. That's the only way I can ever have just an x squared. But what I need you to see is what comes after the x. This is a plus 2, there's a plus 4. So on these, you can, in a way, double check. But I do need you to do this process because in the next section, we have to do it. There are no shortcuts. So if you can get this process down now, then you're pretty much set for the next section. Let's try this one. So if I'm not looking at this, I do 2 parentheses with an x in the front, because x times x is the only way I can get x squared. But then I use my numbers. And that should be the exact same thing that's under my hand. Let's see if it works on this one. We ended up with a plus 9 minus 11. So a y and a y plus 9 minus 11. And there it is. Even works on this one too. Do you see the negative 2 and the negative 3? It's the exact same things right here. So practice these. Get very good at these, because these are going to be the major type of problems you're going to be factoring. Okay.